Hi, welcome to the Outdoor Laboratory Podcast. I'm your host, Danny Capo, and in today's episode, I'm going to be talking to you guys about the participants' role in outdoor situations. Now, this is another video for the How to Outdoor series, and I hope you guys find it pretty informative. Now, if you aren't studying to be an outdoor leader or planning on becoming an outdoor leader, chances are that the outdoor adventures that you go on, you're going to be a participant. As a participant, you have responsibilities and behaviors to follow if you want to remain safe as well as have a great time. Now, participants are the individual members of a group, and they must be willing to be led. They must agree to follow a course of action to meet the group's goals. Group members enter into a contract with the leader, accepting his or her guidance to achieve their goals. Now, as a leader, you fail when your group decides to not follow your lead or lose faith in their leader. So if you want to be a good participant and you want to set up your trip for success, make sure that you set up your leader for success by following their example. There are 3 roles that participants can play in outdoor situations. Now, these 3 roles are basically behaviors that people fall into when they are participating in an outdoor adventure. Now, the first one is known as the opposer. The definition of the opposer is that this person tends to criticize, challenge, and attempt to undermine the leader. The form of opposition may be very subtle. That might be someone in the back of the line, complaining. And I've had some opposers on some trips that I've led, as well as some trips that I've participated in, and I've been able to point this person out. Now, on the trip that I think the person who was being an opposer, their shoes were rubbing them the wrong way. They had some blisters. We were walking a lot of miles. I think this guy was wearing like really, really low grade hiking boots. And so his feet were not holding up the way that they should. Now, we were hiking in some pretty wet terrain, so I'm pretty sure his feet were wet as well. And I understand where he's coming from, but complaining in the back of the line is doing nothing to fix your situation. And in fact, it kind of made other people start complaining as well because they found it suitable to do at the time because someone else was doing it. And, as a leader, your reaction might be anger. And that's a typical reaction that some people may face. But in my situations as a leader, whenever I have had to face an opposer, I get just kind of frustrated. Not angry, frustrated, because you're not letting me help you. You're just complaining about the situation. Now, the second behavior that a participant can follow, which is great, is the one of a follower. And this person respects authority. They're usually very supportive of the leader. Now, this participant can develop dependence on the leader or just needs to accept guidance to get things done. Now, most of the time, leaders are very happy with people who can follow directions because things will get done, okay? Imagine telling people to do 10 different things, one of them gets done because only one person is following. It's important to have a group of followers when you're a leader. And as a participant, if you want to make your leader's job easier, just follow what they say. Now, the third role that can be followed by a participant is one of a bystander. Now, this person seems to not really know what's going on. They might be just sitting in their tent, and if there's conflict in the group, they might not take sides, might get involved. They're just wishy-washy, and they're usually neutral to the situation of the group. Now, I think it's pretty apparent that as an outdoor leader, what I want all my participants doing is playing the role of a follower, one who respects the decisions of the leader. The reason why this is so important is because other participants in the group are going to follow the example that those around them bring, okay? If your peers are acting negative, it turns out that your outlook on this trip is going to be negative because the people around you are being negative. Your vibes that you bring to the group do share off to other people. They do spread off. So it's important to check yourself before you wreck the whole group and before you put them in this downward spiral of being negative people. But I understand that sometimes you get cold. Sometimes you want to complain. Sometimes your shoes rub you the wrong way. Sometimes you wake up on the wrong side of the sleeping pad. I get that. Leaders understand this. And that's why whenever I have to deal with an opposer, I'm not angry. I'm more frustrated and upset because they don't really know that they're just slowing the group down. A leader will try to calm down an opposer and change their mind. Try to get them to follow what the leader has to say. Try to convince them, hey, I know what's going on. I feel you. Let's just power through this. Now that you know this, I hope you know it takes a lot of energy for a leader to talk an opposer through some things. And now that you know that it takes energy for a leader to do this, whenever you decide to become an opposer, you can realize that, hey, I'm taking time and energy away that the leader can be using to solve the very problem that I'm complaining about. Okay? We can be putting our efforts into fixing your issue, okay? Instead of dealing with you complaining about it. Now, it's important that if you are having an issue, let someone know. Don't think that you're complaining just because you're like, my feet hurt. No, let us know that your feet hurt. Let us know that you're not doing well, because we have tools. We have a set of guidelines that we can follow to make you more comfortable than what you are experiencing, so that you don't want to complain, so that you don't having a bad time, because we don't want you to be out in nature having a bad time. As an outdoor leader, we want every single participant that's on any group that we go on to have a successful trip. And if that means stopping along the way, if that means going a little slower, then that's what we'll do. But you complaining to me, or you complaining to your leader about things that we have no control over, like this hike is too long. Well, we have places to get to, you know? The rain is wet. Yes, I've had people say, why am I so, well, it's raining, okay? That's what happens when it rains. There's precipitation, and it's wet, it's water, it gets you wet. Yeah, that's why your socks are wet. That's why your underwear is wet. All right, yeah, you're in nature, okay? And I've noticed that these opposers can really just sidetrack a whole trip, and really sidetrack the people in this trip, because everyone's gonna start having a negative outlook. So keep yourself in check when you're on these outdoor expeditions. Make sure that you don't become an opposer. Now, being a bystander may seem kind of useless, but in fact, it can be helpful, okay? A perfect example would be, I think it would be hard to cook dinner if there was 10 pairs of hands in the kitchen, okay? I don't think we bring enough like kitchen utensils to cook with 10 people cooking at one time, all right? Everyone would be getting in each other's way. Everyone would be fighting each other practically. And it's important that some people, hey, say, I'm gonna take a little break. And you know what we do when we're on these outdoor expeditions? It's actually pretty cool. Say you have a group of 10 people, we'll get like in groups of 3, and we'll just rotate every day who's cooking dinner, who's cooking breakfast, and who's cooking lunch. Now that seems like a great way to make sure that there's not too many people in the kitchen. And while there are people cooking, you can be doing what you do best, nothing. That is the best thing to do in the woods. It's one of the best things to do when you're outdoors. And honestly, it's one of my favorite things to do when I'm not outside. All right, maybe I shouldn't do it that often, but you can go do whatever you want. Nothing. Okay, you can go sit by the river. You can go sit under a tree. You can go set up a hammock, set up a tent. You know, do you, okay? That's what being a bystander could do, and that sometimes is helpful. Now, where it's not helpful is in a high stress situation when all hands are needed on deck. For example, I was on a rafting trip, and we were taking a multitude of people, guys, like so many people. I had never had a rafting trip this big. It was for, I think, 4 or 5 boats, and we were going through some pretty rough rapids. This was back east. I think we had like 17 rafters in total. And I remember getting to the river's edge. It was about a mile walk from the road. So we had to walk our supplies a mile in the woods, including boats, food, all that stuff. We had to work as a group to get 120-pound boats a mile through the woods. We had, I think, they had 4 boats to take. We started, and after one trip, some people just decided, hey, I'm gonna stay here by the water. We don't need bystanders at this point right now. What we need is people helping us move things. you have muscles. That's what we need. All right. And so, I mean, it took us a while to get things done, but it would have been faster if people didn't decide to just stand around and do nothing. So it's important as a participant to be aware of the things that are needed. Okay. Now, if you've never been in an outdoor adventure, something that your outdoor leader might go over with you is just some basic rules, like leave no trace principles, some basic things. Okay. Now, as a participant, I've done a lot of participating in outdoor adventures. So I've hiked mountains and climbed mountains in Mexico. I've went hiking back east on the Appalachian Trail. I've hiked down into the Grand Canyon. I've rafted on the Colorado River as well as a multitude of rivers back east. Like, I think I've done some participation. So I'm here to give you some tips, guys. Okay? Now, when you're preparing for an outdoor adventure, most of the time your outdoor leader or your outdoor guide is going to give you a list of things to bring. Everything on that list must be in your pack. Okay? Now, you need to make sure that you either have the thing, borrowing the thing, or renting the thing. You can go and get rentals from gear shops. Some gear shops do that. You could ask your friends, you know, if you don't want to make an investment. And you could borrow from your family. You know, maybe your dad used to be into hiking. You know, you never know. The 80s were weird, okay? So, when I first started out, when I did my first trip, all of my gear was rented, okay? And I had a great time. I had a great experience. It was awesome. Now, after that trip, though, I have some recommendations, okay? If you're going to be going on your first outdoor adventure, what I recommend that you invest in the most is a quality sleep system, okay? The reason I say this is because when you're renting sleeping gear from these gear shops or even maybe your university, most of the time they're going to give you like some very thin foam foldable sleeping pads. Their sleeping bags may not have been washed recently, you know, okay? So it's kind of a toss-up, and sleeping on one of those pads is not the most comfortable night's sleep. And you know, for me, having a bad night's sleep is a perfect way in becoming an opposer, okay? Because you didn't get enough sleep. You've been up for hours. Everyone else wakes up all dandy with their coffees and their egg breakfasts, you know, little breakfast burritos, and you're just like, I'm tired, all right? I'm grumpy. Why are you smiling? Did you sleep your 8 hours? I slept 3. Yeah, one of those nights can make you an opposer real quick, okay? It's important to check the weather of the places that you're going to be going to, all right? Make sure that you're not cold at night. Because, you know, catching a chill at night is one of the worst experiences to have, because there's no going back to sleep once those bones get cold, guys. Once your bones get cold, you're not sleeping. You're hypotherminating. That's what you're doing, okay? Yeah, that's not even a word, but you're doing it, all right? And that's why it's important to invest in quality sleep systems. So you can get an inflatable sleeping pad for relatively cheap. They can be relatively expensive, but they're comfortable if you're outside. You're sleeping on air. It's like having an air mattress, guys. Even a hammock. Hammock is a great option in the summertime, and even sometimes into the fall, even in time of the spring when it's a little bit warmer outside. I take a hammock everywhere I go. I do not take a tent. I go hammock sleeping, okay? Imagine that. You're sleeping in a hammock, okay? That's why the outdoors is amazing, because you can do things like that, okay? It's also important to have a quality sleeping bag. You don't want to be renting a bag from someone else. You don't know when the last time your buddy cleaned his bag. You also don't know how clean your buddy's feet were the last time he was in his bag. And you know what? A sleeping bag, when it's your sleeping bag, you can just sleep all up in it, okay? You can snuggle with it. It's comfortable. That's the whole point of a sleeping bag. And personally, I only have a 0-degree bag because when I use a sleeping bag, it's usually in very cold weather. I have it with a 15-degree liner just in case I get into some really cold weather. And in the summertime, you might get away with carrying a blanket with you, or you can just get away with a summer bag, like a 50-degree bag. Those are good. Those are great. Now, the reason why I would recommend maybe getting a sleeping bag is because I remember one night, it was middle of August, maybe beginning of August. It was hot during the daytime. And I was hiking up Springer Mountain doing the first 30 miles of the Appalachian Trail. And that night when we camped at the top, all I brought was a blanket because it was an 86, 90-degree day. It got cold. At night, it dropped down to like 40. And I was cold. And after that day, after that trip, I told myself that I'm investing in a sleeping bag. And that's why I got that 0-degree bag, which is a little bit overkill in the summertime. But I do recommend it, getting yourself a sleeping bag. Those are lifesavers, okay? Now, when it comes to a sleeping system, you do get what you pay for. So there's some brands that are lightweight, some brands that are better than others. And you have to see what's gonna hurt your wallet or hurting your back, because you're gonna be carrying all that weight into the woods. So that's a toss-up. I will be having a video covering gear of outside that you can get, amazing brands that work, great models that you can get, because I'm trying to help you guys. I want to set you guys up for success, because I know that there's some people, especially back home in Miami, that are listening to the Outdoor Laboratory podcast that haven't gone on an outdoor expedition yet, that need guidance, that need help. And I want this to be help central for you, okay? And I also want you guys to maybe comment some experiences that you've had if you've decided to go on an experience since you've been listening to this podcast. And I'm just trying to set you guys up for success. So I hope that soon there's going to be a video helping you guys planning for your first trip, and we're going to get into all of this. But make sure that you have the gear you need. If you don't have it, tell your leader. I don't know how many times that someone hasn't had something, and I'll have an extra jacket. I even have an extra pack, If you're into the outdoors, you might have extras of everything, so you're just able to give that out to people. And ask around, make sure that you get them. But please don't show up the morning of the trip like, I don't have this. Because guess what? You're not gonna get it. You're gonna be up the creek without a paddle, literally. Because even though they'll probably support your paddle, it's an expression. But I want you guys to be set up for success. So make sure that you let people know that you don't have the things, and you will find the things, okay? You're trying to be set up for success. So while you're on your adventure, as a participant, it's important to be 100% open with your guide. How do you feel? If you're feeling really bad, let your guide know. Maybe you're dehydrated, maybe you're just going through some things, and you can talk about that with someone if you feel comfortable. How are your feet? Do your feet hurt? That's the most important thing. Those are the things that are getting you around. We need to know how they're doing. We need to know if they need some TLC, some tender love and care. Okay? I think that's what it stands for. But that's what we gotta ask. We gotta ask you these things. One of the most important things, guys, is, have you pooped? Yes, guys, this is important. Some people think that they can just hold their poop. Some people are like, I'm not pooping outside. I am not an animal. I am civilized. If you're not pooping outside while you're outside, there's going to be some problems inside. So make sure that you're pooping outside, or your insides are going to be outside everywhere. Yep, that's what's going to happen. Because one day, there ain't going to be no more room inside. You're going to be pooping outside. Or, even worse, maybe you blocked off the outside, and now your insides are inside. So make sure that you're pooping, okay? It's important. Your BMs are known, Most of the time, whenever I take someone out, we make a game out of it. We make a game out of pooping. It's called the pooping game. If you poop with an animal, you get a couple set of points. You get more points than others. You make eye contact with an animal, you poop with a view, you get a point. Make eye contact with an animal, you get a point. If you poop and an animal poops, you win the whole damn game. Okay? So make sure that you're pooping. That's the most important part. As a participant, I want you guys to be helpful. Be a busy bee. Do everything that you can do. When there's nothing else to do, ask if you can do something, and then become a bystander, okay? Be a busy bee. It makes you a better participant. It makes the leader's job easy, okay? I hope you guys learned a lot from this podcast. You know, you get to choose what you want to do. It's like the Matrix. Instead of the red pill and the blue pill, you can be an opposer. You can be a follower or a bystander. But each one that you choose is going to affect your trip. Okay? So pick your poison. I hope that you guys pick to be followers and helpful and participants. I hope you guys know that your role as a participant is actually what makes the trip. Because without you, there would be no trip. Okay? So know your worth as a participant and know how to behave. I hope this helps you becoming better. So go out and experience it for yourself. Have a good day.